Welcome back to Ferocious Education. This is Ed. Today we're going to be talking once more about SOS Limited. This is the first time in a while that I have covered SOS, and I've covered it before, but today we're bringing in new news, due diligence, technical analysis, and what we can actually anticipate onto this one in the next few days or so. So SOS Limited, they have different products, including internet insurance services, vehicle rescue services, so something like AAA or CAA if you're in Canada, financial rescue services, medical rescue services, life rescue services, and basic cloud services. Now, in the last few months or so, or I think about a year or so, my memory is a little bit fuzzy about this, but they've gone into blockchain and mining, cryptocurrency, that kind of thing. And it is fueled by basically the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency rally that we've seen in the last year. And because of that, they had to raise a good amount of money through direct and private offerings and public offerings to fund these kind of operations. The last one was back in November 10th, 2021. And they define themselves now as an emerging blockchain-based and big data-driven marketing solutions provider. And they back then announced $90.1 million worth of ADS, American Depository shares, as a direct offering. Now, they released it back at around $1.75 per ADS. The current price point is around below $1. Just earlier yesterday, it was trading around 70 cents. It's seen a bit of a push today that we're going to talk about later on. But basically what you've seen is a good amount of dilution after they've kind of gone towards the mining business. And they basically also announced a lease of an office in Manhattan in North America. That was back in October 18th, 2021. As a Chinese company, they wanted to show face a bit into the US. Now, there's also other news, for instance, about the construction of a North America supercomputing and hosting center. And a big part of that was to increase their Bitcoin hash and to also have some mining operations into the US just to kind of decentralize it from the China hold, just as to try to stay away from people who are hesitant because it's mainly a Chinese operating company. So they also had a news back around 5 days ago. It says SOS announces receipt of NYSE non-compliance letter regarding ADS trading price. And so right on here, it says pursuant to the rule, blah, 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 that the consolidated tape is less than $1 over the last 30 days. And so this is the $1 kind of minimum that they need to have for a few amount of days, usually it's 10 business days. And that they do need to kind of maintain basically $1 for at least 30 trading days. Otherwise, they lose their compliance. And they've lost their compliance since they're below there. And so they have still some time. There's no immediate impact on the listing of the company's ADS, which will continue to be listed and trading on NYSE during the cure period, subject to continuing compliance requirements from NYSE. But basically, the company can regain compliance at any time during the next 6 months ahead of time, and it will need basically a closing price of at least $1 over a 30-day period ending of the last trading day of the month. So that kind of gives you a bit of a view into where the company actually lies with compliances. And we don't have other news other than that. We do have some valuations. From a price per over sales perspective, they're around 0.78, which is really undervalued. This is again based on a TTM, so this is based on the last reported yearly report of earnings. Price over book, which is based on the last quarter or reported quarter, it is currently around 0.23, which is highly undervalued compared to what you see in the industry's average. Profitability is a little bit mixed. Gross margins is around 13.41. EBITDA margin is around negative 0.87, so it is negative, but again, this is based on last year, which is back in 2020. It's still not based on 2021 since it's not yet reported. But before we move on a little bit towards technical analysis, we see some movements in institutional buyers. On the 11th of February 2022, we see a doubling of almost doubling of shares, going from 67,770,000 shares to around 120 million shares. That was increased by Intracoastal Capital, so almost double, and Hudson Bay Capital Management added around 260 million shares back in the 7th of February in 2022. So that's two major institutional buyers, and we do get to see that it has been kind of going both ways. Majority of it has been reducing number of shares or the value percentage of changes. But the other kind of sides that you see in the last 2 weeks is increased number of shares. So even though that some companies are decreasing shares, it is a little bit of both way street. Now, in terms of SOS short availability, even with this push, they only have around 2.7 million shares available to short sell, and the short borrow fee rate of around 2.23. So I do anticipate short selling can easily spike a little bit today, since it gained around 27% in movement. In terms of other news that basically might have sprung this action, we don't see anything significant. Now, volumes are around 7 to 8 times more than average, so we're seeing a spike in volume, which is kind of nice to see on an average day, but it's not based on news, but rather based on a retail kind of push with different people on Twitter or Reddit or whatever platform you're using. Is kind of getting in a bit traction with people trying to push it off forward. But as we get to see that still there's not much news, we're going to be taking a look into technical analysis and identify where some warning signs might show off. Before doing so, if you would like to see more contents like this, make sure to click the subscribe button and leave notification buttons on for this channel, and don't forget to drop a like to this video if you enjoyed this video so far. You can join our Discord free in the description below, and let's move on towards technical analysis. Now, from a technical analysis perspective for SOS Limited, of course, with this massive push around 30%, we get to see that it jumps above all moving averages. It's one of the highest it's been ever since probably back in the end of the 2021 year. But currently you're just about touching the $1 mark. That's very important. It's above the 50 SMA, which currently plays as a support at 83 cents. The 200 SMA is unlikely to be met within today or tomorrow. It's at 220, which is more than double what it is right now. And the average directional index is sitting at 26.3. Suggesting that there could be a momentum to this push. Now, from the Williams percent R perspective, which is very similar to the relative strength index, also known as RSI, you're able to see that this one is a bit on the overbought side. On the MACD histogram, we're able to see a push in momentum. This is actually kind of gaining traction at this level, and momentum is going positive from around 0.04 to around 0.3, around 9 times higher than where it was yesterday. So there's definitely traction in momentum. And from a stochastic fast and stochastic low perspective, we're able to see that it suggests that this could still keep going up. But again, you got to be very careful because it has histories of jumping off the edge and dropping significantly. So the stochastic fast and stochastic slow still suggest that there could be another leg up for this one. And in terms of the moving average bands, you're able to see it's expected to trade between 76 on the top and 63 in the bottom, with 70 cents in the middle. The Bollinger bands are between 83 and 56, and it's currently exceeded all these levels, suggesting that a strong reversal is kind of almost on the way. You're able to see that the volume is historical when you look into from last year June till now, but it's not one of the highest when you compare the peak of volumes back in March 2021. From a Fibonacci retracements, you're able to see there is some significant resistances at 155, 216, 265, 315, 385, and 475, with a support at 56 cents. Now, from a support system, you're able to see a significant support at 89 cents, 81, and then below there, 75. Below there, you're seeing around 66 cents, 61, and 56. In terms of resistances, there is one currently around the $1 level, and then 110, and then 123, and then 137, 162, 202, 214, 226, 237, a bit higher to 255, and around 278, higher to around 284, 296, 303, 317, higher to 342, 356. You get the point. Now, question comes into what I think is going to happen here. Well, I think that this one can easily hit above the $1. The $1 will be a very significant level of resistance. If it does break above the $1, you're easily sitting at 110. But if it does dip below the $1 again, a lot of that push that a lot of people are looking into the compliance of $1, that push strength will really fade away easily. So you got to be very careful after it hits the $1 and for it to stay above the $1. So if I was to trade this one, I would definitely have a sell kind of limit, or basically a sell stop at around $1 after it crosses the $1. But honestly, there is no massive news that are actually backing this one from what I see. But in case you find it, mention it down in the comments below. But hopefully we're able to see a strong bullish movement ongoing for this one and an uptrend. What do you think about the sticker? Make sure to mention down in the comments below. Share, subscribe, and like, and have a wonderful day.